Hi everybody, welcome to Drumfield's Cafe. If you didn't know, we are in the season number 5. So that's mean we have already 4 seasons working. Actually, we're in the second year of Drumfield's Cafe. We had around 300 interviews with people like speaking French, English, Spanish, and Portuguese. We had a lot of famous person. If you didn't know, we had Todd Zuckerman, Horacio Hernandez, Paul Brochu, Billy Cobham, and many, many, many others. So if you didn't know that, I really suggest you go on drumfields.com. There are sections by language. Pick the one you want, and you can see all the interviews we've done by the past with all those famous artists, or even not just famous. That's the point of Drumfields Cafe. We don't want only famous. We want everybody surrounding the drum and percussion, or even music industry, and that is super important because we don't want to talk about just like what kind of drum head you're using. Like we like to talk about and like about history of the drums, like or even what your thought about it. So I really suggest you to go check that out. We have a section called Back to School. It's little teaser of drums, like drum lessons. They're free. There's a few videos. Some are PDFs, so you can like download it. And the point is like we don't want to give you more, like too much, because if you really like what you are looking at, you can always contact the person on the video or the writer of that exercise, and you can get in touch with them and take lessons with them. So let's go with our artist of the day. I'm going to present you like a little presentation, and let's go with him directly. He's been for 25 plus years in the music drum industry. 30 years of drummer designer. We'll talk about that with him. He also have been working in like a lot of big companies like Jam, Ericsson. He worked with like at Steve Music, like that store, like for a long time. He collaborated and he been tour like technician, like drum tech for years for like drum event, drum like drum session, drum master classes, clinics over the year. We'll talk about that with him. So let's go check my friend Rene Adolph. Reg, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good, Eric. How are you doing, man?
I'm cool. Hey, thanks to accepted to be on the show because I thought about you. You were on the list of the artists we wanted to invite because you've been super like one of those like crazy guy building rack for drums. And not just that, I remember you since long time. By the way, I remember you, I think the first time I met you was at Steve Music in the 90s, and I
Yeah.
remember you like really much. And you were like, you knew your shit, you knew what you were talking about, and that was really like, okay, that guy you really know. And over the year I saw you in like the drum fest in Montreal, do like taking care of all drums setup. And for me, you were like one of the first guy devoted to a drum setup for the artist, like measuration and stuff like that. And I didn't see that before when I was a kid, and that I kept that in my mind. So sorry, but that was my little introduction about you. But it was important to mention that it's been a long time I know you. So it's cool, man. Thank you for being the show.
No, absolutely. Having seems like some kind of battery issue, but I am plugged in, so I should be good. Eric, we've been around so many of the same drum events for so many years,
Mhm.
from back in the day, even like you say, the '90s. 90s, where I think a lot of people, where our creativity around drums was at its pinnacle. Um, I remember
It's true.
Steve's Music Store being just over the top busy every day, pounding out drum kits, flying out the door, people coming in, and just constant surplus of buying and creating. Which how that even came. My journey started through Steve's, which was interesting. That's how I got picked up to do the Montreal Drum Fest,
Uh-huh.
which I had a 20-year run at, um,
Yeah.
until it moved to Quebec City, and apparently that's just too far for me to drive.
Mm. Well,
It is what it is.
well.
I love those guys and the lessons, the people I met, the things that I learned. One thing led to another, and it was really neat to be noticed for something that I had a real big passion about. I built
Oh,
drum kits so that the drummer would be noticed, because as a drummer, I just thought, well, geez, I'm in the back. All these other guys are getting laid, and I'm drinking Slurpees at 3 in the morning by myself.
okay.
That that's a joke.
No, no, no. I know. I got it.
Not a very good one, but
No, no, don't worry.
the point being, I always fascinated about. Whoa,
Oh, I think we have a battery issue. Let's wait a second, and if not, we'll restart back. Perfect. So we're talking about the fact the 90s was like the pinnacle of the drum set, and you built so many drum sets for drummers all around the world and touring. And my question was how you became at that spot to create those crazy stuff. Like, I mean, like you did like the racking and all are amazing, man.
you remember Melly Laverne,
Yeah.
when Melissa did the big, it was a huge Quebec Day celebration, and I did that right to left, six,
Yep.
8, 10, and then in reverse back the other way.
Yep.
You know what? It was like how it all came about was basically when I was playing. I'm very obsessive compulsive, and I worry about stuff breaking
Okay.
or moving. Back in the day, I toured a year with the staccato drum kit,
Okay.
and the bass drum spurs used to fall off the thing, and then it would like hover, like be like getting farther and farther away, and it just, I hated it. So I said, you know what, I got to build things that are secure, where whoever's behind that seat can handle anything because it's easy. And then it was about being noticed,
Uh-huh.
drummers, bringing them out front, so to speak, by saying, most of what we're doing in a live music application is keeping simple time. It's
Mhm.
what it is. That's why people started spinning sticks and doing all that kind of visionary type stuff. There's not a lot of room in radio music to be Chop Master Thomas Lag
Mm.
Central. There's not,
No, no,
so
definitely.
I thought, if people are coming, if they want to hear me play, they would listen to the recording. If they want to get the best of anything, they're going to listen to that. But if they're going to a show, they want to see you. They want to see what gear you're using. And, you know, one thing that the great Gene Akamoto and me
Mhm.
had in common, and you know who Gene is, he worked for
Yep.
Pearl Corporation in Nashville. We shared a magazine cover together on drum, etc.
I remember that.
Um, yeah, there was a few guys. Most of those guys still have jobs in the music industry, which is kind of exciting, and bizarre. So, like I say, most drummers, we have a sense of a mechanical ability,
Okay.
um, whether that be like, we as children, we may be laid off. Like, I have a foosball table. I'm not very good at video games, but mechanically, there's something about drummers where we like to get in, we like to get dirty.
Yeah.
um, you know Look at how much shit you got to play with if you're setting up your own drum kit, how many wing nuts you're touching, all of these things. So whatever I could do with all those moving parts to make whoever's behind that kit probably the best that he could be on that night, I think that was probably the goal,
Mhm.
is because I was really nervous as a drum tech. um, my thoughts were, a great drum tech is never fucking seen. You know
Yeah,
what I
bro.
mean?
Yep.
If you're seeing me run out every 15 minutes, I must have been torching the crack pipe in the parking lot before the show,
Yeah.
because everything's falling apart. Um, that or your equipment's substandard. And again, those things happen. That's why, like, for instance, on anything that I build, like even Zuckerman's Gowan rig,
Mhm.
nothing, no cymbal stand ever moves. Like, the angle never breaks. Once it's tight, it's tight. I continually check tightness. I never loosen it ever. Therefore, it relatively never breaks, which I tell people, what breaks your hardware? I'll break this down after a little bit.
Yep.
Is all the messing around you do with it, setting it up, tearing it down, folding it up? Fuck that, man. Like that stuff is not made. Like especially the cheap stuff now, which people are attracted to. Again, they don't understand the simple logic, and here's the breakdown. I look at kits in three different components: drums, cymbals, hardware,
Totally.
and how I'd always achieve to get the best of whatever I could at that time. But at the same time, I'd say, well, I'm going to spend more money on my hardware portion because that's the shit that takes the biggest punch all the time. Yeah,
Yep.
you're hitting a drum. It's a rounded piece of wood siphoned between two pieces of mylar. There's not much going on there. But your hardware up and down, and that's why it breaks. I mean, companies like Gibraltar, and I love them, but their stuff is made at a third of the standard of anybody else's, just so that they can grab that niche market of the affordability.
Mm-hmm.
Or the Chinese generic brands. Remember back in the day at Steve's, it was Supra.
Super.
We get 3 containers of that, 3 45-foot containers of that junk a year.
Wow.
And it was a man, like it was drums, it was a little bit of everything, but it was like I'd see people, they buy this shit, and you'd see them buying it, repetitively every 3-4 months. You'd have to replace it. And like I tell people, when you spend the money on the right stuff, and again, I've always been the guy to tell people to stick within their budget because it's only drums.
Mm-hmm.
You can't fucking eat them at the end of the day,
Totally.
So, and I've seen those people when I'm working at Steve's, they'd walk in and, their clothes would suck, their car would suck. They probably lived in a basement of some crappy place, but they had a $10,000 drum kit. And for some reason that made them feel important, which again, I don't have a problem with, but to a certain degree, most of the stuff I end up making myself. After the Pearl fiasco, I mean, a lot of my clamps and a lot of my ideas got taken and manufactured without me being even in the building. You know what I'm saying? So I had to rip apart everything that was Pearl. And I built this stuff out of just round pipe, bent it up, used a lot of everyone else's clamps because I just really couldn't afford to get into the machining process of that. And that was the only way I was going to do it. But again, if you've taken a look at my kit, I'm actually on a little platform.
Yep.
So I'm elevated. Part of the reason my name is Reg, it's me on the edge. I did these things. I used to build them out of muffler tube, believe it or not. Back in the day,
Okay.
I'd go to a muffler shop and use their tube bender and build these things that most people would thought cost me thousands upon thousands of dollars. Spray painted them with black spray paint, and $250 later, I had a nicer rig than anyone else. And it was just all about, I know where all my stuff is placed. It hasn't really changed because when I build something, it actually has a lot to do with your body type. Where your arms extend to, what's a comfortable hitting zone, position of your cymbal, which to me, and I'll use another kind of example. People always ask me, and I'm an open hand lefty, so my ride and my hi-hat. I play drums, and thanks to Lenny Lontaine for this, I play drums like I'm in a fight. You know what I mean? It's like
Yep. Totally.
the crossing mentality is meant for jazz and a dip-verted snare, which nobody plays except for Todd. I do dip a little bit in because of the open hand, and that because I'm not hitting the snare drum at like 6 o'clock. You know what I mean? You're hitting more at like a 4:30 position. So
Totally.
why wouldn't I dip into that and utilize the fact that I have wrists? So, and again, that's how designing and building what I would call is your own little spaceship. That's what I used to teach drums. I'd tell kids that this is your zone. This is unique to you only. So getting back to it, when people ask me, can you play my kit? Well, it's like, if you want to bleed, and rip your fingers out, because there's nothing you can adjust and move to fit your comforts.
Yeah.
And believe you me, I've had Flo up here many times. He's like, "Oh
Yeah.
fuck, Reg, fucking shoot, blah, 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 blah. Why is your ride symbol over here?" And it's like, well, Flo, I'm left-handed. And again, there's a guy that I'm sure me and Flo. I've been with Flo for so long, and Flo's one of those guys who really stuck behind me through all things. I still get calls like Chambers. I hear from Dennis Chambers every couple of weeks.
Okay.
You know, it's just the way it is. Horatio. I mean, when Horatio was in town last time doing the stuff with Kosa, he stayed at my place. It was like having a child. We'd get up in the morning, we'd eat breakfast, he'd do rudiments on the kitchen table. I'd dress him up and I'd take him to school, and then I'd go pick him up, and it would be repeat. I've had Horatio down here banging away on my kid, and Horatio could play anything, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, and there's another guy, Horatio. I got a call a couple of days before that thing in Vancouver that he was doing, and I made him the little rack pipe that I made for him many years ago, because he didn't need anything but a little piece of pipe that just snugly fit over his kick drum to mount
That's it.
his toms. And that was it. And actually he said something about it in Vancouver. I think somebody sent me the link, but you know what accolades are?
Yep. Yeah, yeah. Totally. Totally.
They're, it's like, who cares? It just is what it is. But it goes to show the depth of, I think, the 12 and a half years I had at Pearl. I made some really real friends
Oh, for
for
sure.
life, based on the effort I put forward into making them. They could be the best that they could be on any given night.
Yeah, yeah.
And I sit there and I stress out. I'm sweating like a pig on the side of the stage. Like, I sit behind Zuckerman now, because on the Gowan thing, I'm not just the drum tech. I'm running all the live pyro geysers. Okay, so I'm cued to do all the explosions. I built in, like, I also do stage props, right? So
Yep.
um, I did the smoking piano for Gowan, the way I
Yep.
can creep smoke out of that thing. And I have a constant line of sight with Gowan at all times, because he's Gowan.
Yep.
He's the boss.
It's about.
And then I've got I've got my eye on Todd's ass for the whole night. And you see what happened to my computer earlier? So I'm also running lights for
Okay.
certain things. The geyser lights I have under Gowan's riser, which is very similar, Gowan's keyboard riser, to the concept I have here. Okay, it's all Pearl hardware underneath that, and the big round wooden disc, because I believe in the sound of wood
Okay.
platforms.
Yep.
Because actually off here, and there's a secret to the way I built this riser, which I'm not going to tell you. I'll tell you off camera, because
That's
I've
okay.
had so many people copy my stuff, or look at my stuff and say, I'll say, yeah, well, I built that. Oh yeah, bullshit. And I'll be, well, I always have a little catch, or a little stupid cartoon character or gargoyle somewhere on that build. So saying, okay, well, look beside that hi-hat stand and tell me, what's that guy's name? That little
But
plastic character, right? I
exactly.
go, well, that's Pumpkinhead, and he was there for the whole build. I took Pumpkinhead out on tour with Zuckerman
Okay.
on a Strange Animal, the Return of the Strange Animal tour,
Yep.
and we did a couple of clinics in between, and some kid there, some little kid, I don't know, 12, 10, he goes, got his hand up there. Anybody got a question?
Like,
Kid's like,
yeah.
um, what's that little thing there beside your hi-hat stand? That
What is that
toy,
thing?
that toy. And he's like, well, that's Pumpkinhead.
It's Pumpkinhead. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. That was the answer, and it's like, yeah, well, what's he doing there? Well, you have to ask the deviant mind of Reg why he's there. But little things like that, little knickknacks. Did the same thing with Ray Luzier.
Yeah.
and it makes it fun, for years, since Ray Luzier, another amazing drummer and a guy that I've had the pleasure to do some clinics with, and really, actually, he's better friends with my son Tick
Hmm.
than he
Yeah.
is with me,
Yeah.
which is cool. Tick's a guitar player, and Tick, I would call him my assist Tick, because my kids have always worked these shows, the drum camps, the Costa drum camps. There's another 20-year legacy,
Hmm.
um,
It's a long time.
with Aldo Mazza,
Uh-huh.
and it's too bad because we looked forward to it every year, crossing into Vermont, going to the old spooky haunted camp, the college, and it was just a blast. Some of the memories, some of the artists, like me and Jim Chapin. I could tell you stories that would blow your mind about me and Dr. Jim Chapin. So
Cool. Cool.
all good. Eating Lucky Charms with Carmen Appice, and Vinny Appice telling us constantly how much sugar was in any beverage or anything we were eating. He was like, there's 48 tablespoons of sugar in that. And I'm like, shut up, play mob rules.
So
You
he was
know,
a guy on diet, I guess. but look,
they're
but
you
it's
know what they're all on diets till they get on the road with me.
yeah. Well, this is the hard time
I'm not their nutritional guidesman.
guy.
Ask Dennis Chambers about that.
Yeah. Well, it's well, I will put that on my question list
Yeah.
next
Uh,
time.
yeah. So, Dennis, tell me, what's your
There
favorite
was
thing from McDonald's drive-through at 3 a.m? Fillet of fish with no cheese? What the fuck is wrong with you, man?
Exact. Hey,
Yeah.
well, the time fly, and I have one question because
Oh, well,
because you mentioned like about the rack and all the kit is on the air, you have your platform and
yep.
everything. What will have been the most challenging setup you have to build for one famous drummer? Let's say.
Well, let's not call him famous, although.
Well,
Uh,
a challenge
no,
rack, yeah.
I'm going to tell you this story because it's kind of amusing because it happened during the filming of A Drummer's Dream.
Okay.
During the night, I was building what would be the first two seasons of How We Do It's show, Howie Mandel, How We Do It,
Okay.
and that was for DJ Ravi drum. So
Okay.
it was not just a drum kit. You could see it on the seasons if you go look.
Okay, I will
And
go
there's
check it
just
out.
this giant colossal thing. Now the second season, when I came back, I added some more tits and glamour to it. But the fact of the matter is, I was doing Ultimate Drum Camp all during the day, shooting this in an environment which was not as promised. And like I say, if I was to make a follow up to that movie, I would call it a drum tech's nightmare. But again, the principle and everything about it was amazing. The experiences, I mean, I wouldn't change anything. But building
Love it
that
work.
through the night, not sleeping, getting attacked by killer frogs, having demons invade the room, and having my kids shoot each other in the eye with pellet guns, and building this rack, only to have the great, and I don't know if you know him, Evan Ritchie. He's a guy out of
Mm,
Toronto. He's done
no.
so many things with me. He put it this way. I believe it was Kenwood Denard was on
Okay.
stage at Ultimate Drum Camp.
Okay.
As I pulled out at 11:30 at night to make it to Caesar's Palace in Windsor,
Okay.
and forget sleeping, pal. You got to build this thing. I said it. I put it up like I built it,
You
to
need to.
tear it down and build it from scratch.
Wow. That's
Because he had not brought the things that he had listed. What I came out with in the end was cooler, but I was flying blind on no sleep, building this thing, not knowing what direction I'm going in, trying to find food the next day, or a fridge that didn't have ants in it. It was a crazy experience, but in the end, again, I think that's where experience and really having that desire to never fail, because it's never a possibility. Like, as a drum tech, if something breaks and you can't fix it, you're fucked. And
Well,
excuse my language, but
you know,
it's true. Could you imagine? And luckily with the system I built for Zuckerman and Gowan, the only time I've really had to go out and do anything was when he broke a 20-inch crash cymbal. It's hanging on my wall over there. Um, and when Gowan decided to headbutt the rack and Saint Eustache and split his head open, that's the only. And my comment on that was to Gowan when he showed back up at the bus at 5 a.m. with a head full of stitches. It's like, dude, we got it all on video. And did you notice how fucking the rack took that hit?
I guess.
And I said there was no problem with the rack for the rest of the night. I mean, your head hurt. I get it. You're Gowan, but I got to give kudos to my drum rack. And me and Zuckerman, we, in the hotel room, we're putting it on a loop and stuff. Again, we could spend probably a whole season going. You could have a new spin-off called Reg's Nightmares.
Reg's nightmare. Nice. That's cool.
Zuckerman losing his wallet during a snowstorm, pulling into Montreal, playing the Corona Theater. It was in my son's car, who had picked him up and drove him from the Steve's Clinic.
Okay.
And I am breaking into my son's car at 4 a.m, finding Zuckerman's wallet, only to be woken up at 10 o'clock and build everything, right? While he's still snoozing, having a great old time. But you know what I mean? That goes to that level of what it is, because I knew that if I didn't find his wallet, what kind of night he was going to have that night and how the rest of the tour was going to go, because that's like, seriously, man, that's like taking a piss and your dick falling off. It's like, what are you going to do the next day
What's
when
happening?
you have to pee?
What's next?
It's like, I don't have a wallet. I can't buy anything.
Yep.
I can't prove who I am. I can't go to the bathroom. No, that was really, anyway, forget it. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah, I know what I mean. It's a stress you don't need to have or
Well,
whatever when you perform, so it's okay.
Here's what guys don't know about drum techs, I think, is
I know it's a big universe. It's a big universe.
We're not just taking care of the drums. We're taking care of the guy.
Yeah, of course, sure. Of course.
And that's like, I mean, I wrote Dennis's last rider, his equipment rider, and very specifically with every trick you'd need in the world to get that kit up properly, and everything from what kind of hotel to put him in, to making sure you're in constant contact with his wife when it comes to booking flights.
Yep, totally.
So, like I say, and that's why I have such a great relationship with people like Dennis, with hopefully Todd, and, all the other entourage. There's other guys, with the demise of me at Pearl, they dissolved, and I became a memory. That's what we call life. So, that's cool. Like I say,
you got good contact, and you still kept the right person. It's perfect. Hey, we only have 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
Oh my God, that went quack.
That was fast. Yeah. So, but anyway, it's cool because you just mentioned something super important. The drum tech is not just setting up stuff. You're part of the universe of the drummer, and I can tell you that's the truth, because I had a few technicians working with me for years on tour, and big setup, like a big setup on stage, and they knew exactly what I like to, like the way I put my drums, and there's things they knew. Okay, we won't touch that because it will change it anyway, So they knew exactly to set up my things. I'm the kind of guy, I like to have my drum set up, but I will put the cymbals myself. For example, it's weird, but I was like that just because I like that feel. I tune my drums the way. But what you said, it's something very important. So if someone listen at that is watching the show and is like, I would like to do that, it's not just like tweaking the drum. There's a big part coming after that.
It's a relationship, and it's only going to work if there's that equal amount of care between the two of you. Because again, I know that if I don't do what I do best, he's not able to do what he does best, which is going to affect the other guy on the left side of the stage doing his best. And it's like, so I think in general, a drummer's not more importantly than anybody else in the universe, if there was one. We're definitely detailed individuals, detailed orientated. we cross our T's, we dot our I's. Sometimes we have McDonald's fries. But, it's
Sometimes.
not a. I feel like I'm on Gutfeld.
Sometimes. No, no, but you're right. Sometimes I mean, we had nights like you just mentioned. He was losing his wallet. There's nights I was not happy with my performances or whatever. So I was hanging out with the technician. Let's go for
That's
beer,
right.
just relaxing. And they just don't do that part. They do that part to, hey man, calm down. All cool. Tomorrow will be another show, and the house perfect. And it's stuff like that. It's a big part of the game. Hey man, thanks beyond on Drumfields Cafe. It was pretty fast, but I will suggest everybody to go check that out. If you have a few picture of your setup you build, I would like we can post it and the people can see, like, just for if you have a few, just your you would like to show to everybody, who can be
Uh,
cool.
well, I think to get it back out there. Yeah, I'll send you some really cool stuff
Yeah,
in
sure.
in reference to what we spoke about today,
Yeah,
and that way you can really kind of dig into it. And if anybody, how to get a hold of me. If anybody ever has any questions about things they're hung up about, or how to do this, how to do that, like I say, I'm getting those calls. I get those messages, messenger on Facebook, people just asking me, and they're quite surprised that I answer them. I'm like, well, guys, you only go around
yeah,
once, and if we're not sharing, uh, what the hell are we doing here? Because that's the thing about drummers, man. We're a sharing community. We
yeah,
we
good
share
community.
our ideas. Like I say, you may not be able to play my kit. I may not be able to play yours, but we're definitely going to tell each other and communicate more than it's. I don't know. I've never found drummers to be all that competitive with each other.
Very
There,
rare.
there, there's a few.
There's a few, but very rare. In general, it's
Yeah.
like quite cool. Hey man.
The,
Oh,
yep.
sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No,
Last
I,
word.
I was just going to say, look, we're over our time limit. We don't want to get charged more. But listen, Eric, I think the last time I saw you in person was actually we crossed paths in the airport. I was on my way to Florida, and you were on your way somewhere else.
Yep.
I briefly remember it in my mind, but I remember it quite well. So, seeing how you live so close to me, you're going to have to come on down to this drum gin and see some of this stuff for life. In
Yep.
real life, and maybe even you yourself can grab some pictures of things that interest you, and
Yep.
and plug it out on your show, because again, guys like me and you, we're still around, and if there's guys that need us to do what we do, hey,
Yeah. Let's go hang. I will be soon around your place, like in a week, so I can be
there you
easily
go.
traveling around. So yeah. Hey man,
No,
thanks a lot
definitely,
for your time. It was amazing.
definitely,
Thanks a lot, and I wish you good luck, and we'll keep in touch anyway. So all be
definitely,
cool.
man. All
So
right,
have a good night and stay safe, man.
I will.
Take care.
Thanks,
Bye.
buddy.
Hey, thank you for being part of the show tonight. Like I said, if you never seen what Reg built, it's pretty cool. There's a lot of racking, incredible for famous artists, like and not just famous, like drummers. And that's mean, like, if you have those ideas, you would like to build something on your at your place or on tour or in a studio, just contact him and have a chat with him. So thanks again tonight for being there tonight, and see you next week.